In this video, we're going to be going over some coverage adjustments that we can make out of the big nickel over G that can be pretty effective against the gun bunch offset, which is a pretty popular formation right now, especially in MUT. Has a lot of good plays from it. So we'll just start with double post here. And we're going to start with big nickel out of cover 2 man. That's probably the most popular coverage right now. It's pretty effective in MUT. If that changes, then we can start to mix in more zone. But we'll be going over some zone after that. If you're in regs, you'll probably stick to the more zone already just because you can't get all the best corners on one team. And then we'll go over like some of the blitz adjustments that you can make when you're blitzing them. So we'll start with the cover 2 man. And right away, I'm just going to set this up just like the normal shed defense. And then what I like to do, if they have a slow QB, you can coverage out this DT, vertical hook to the right, maybe a hook curl to the left, whatever side of the field they're kind of attacking you with. If they have a fast QB, you can put that player in a spy. And again, I like to mention, you're going to probably spy the DT that maybe is faster or maybe is a little bit worse pass rusher. So Fletcher Cox is a little bit better pass rusher. So I'll spy that DT here. And then it kind of comes down to shading where you can make your adjustments, right? So if you want to shade over, if you don't want to shade over top, you're going to have to kind of keep these deep halves and not have to get rid of them because you don't want to give up any deep streaks or fades for touchdowns. But if I do keep them, I like to move them down and outside. I feel like that helps a little bit against crossing patterns, maybe make them look a little bit less open, maybe get a chance to knock them out. It's not going to stop them every single time at all, but it can definitely deter your opponent at times. So keep that in mind. Now, other things that you can do here is adjust this DT, maybe put them in a vertical hook to the right. But something I do see a decent amount of is this. So let me just spy the DT now, just assuming they have a fast quarterback. You're going to see this a lot from gun bunch. So let's just go to mesh post here. And then they motion this over on a slant. And it looks like this. It's a pretty popular play. Almost the majority of the time when they motion that middle player over, they're on a slant. So when I see that, pretty much the majority of the time, if I see that, I'm going to click on while they're doing this motion. You have plenty of time to do it, or you can quick adjust it. I'm going to put this player in a hook curl. The reason is probably because they're not going to have any streaks or fades anymore. It's usually going to be a post from B and then like a flat from A like you see here, or maybe a drag from A and a post from B. It's usually not going to be a streak anymore. So I don't really ever worry about the deep halves. Now it could be a streak, but I'm willing to take that risk when they do that motion to put that hook curl there, and it can help against the man-to-man. So you're going to see here, and now keep in mind the running back is my responsibility if they get sent out. But if they do that, so they hike the ball, I see the running back go out, I'm going to go watch it. That slant gets beat, but keep in mind, when that slant got beat, that hook curl was there to stop it. So let's go look at the replay here. And disregard this player, because I accidentally coveraged this player out in a cloud flat, so that post was wide open. Just disregard that. That's going to be manned up, so you wouldn't, that would be, obviously that's a wide open pass right now, but just keep in mind that's manned up. I wanted you to see the slant. So the slant gets open against the man-to-man, right? Like that's there. They can throw that, but the spy takes it away for a second, can't throw it yet. Maybe in this window, they can low pass it right here. But if they miss that window, that hook curl's back, ready to get a hit on it to try to knock it out. And then they're sacked by that point. So that makes that window a little bit tighter. And oftentimes it also stops the post. I actually want to show you that in the replay. So just imagine this post is manned up here. This hook curl, usually they will throw this post right on the break. That hook curl can probably get a knockout on that break. So they can't really throw it there, and keep in mind there's a demand here as well. And then maybe they throw it here after this window, but at that point, usually the man-to-man will catch back up. And I'll show it here without putting that player in a cloud flat, because I didn't mean to do that before. So let's audible back into mesh post. Set this back up here. Looking like this. Let's put this player in the hook curl. Put this player in a spy, and actually like this, right? This is your setup. When they do that, I want to show you. So I see the running back go out. I'll go lurk it. That post, again, you see how they catch up after the break? You can throw that post on the break, but if they miss that window, the player catches back up and they no longer can throw it. So that's why I wanted to show you about the hook curl here. It does a decent job kind of deterring the slant late, but early on, like that player's just kind of in position. That player's there to maybe make a play on that post if they try to throw it right on that break. So keep that in mind. Other things that you can do if you're making sure that that's pretty much most I would do that if I'm not shading up. But if you want to shade up, we can start to get some more adjustments. So if we don't have to worry about any streaks, you can put these players out in purples, stop any crossing patterns, any deep corner routes going to the right, anything like that. Assuming you're putting them on 20 to 25. So if you go into your coach adjustments, you can change the depth to 20 to 25. That'll take that away. Maybe you don't want to have to worry about the running back. So you maybe man this player up to the running back, and then this can be your user, right? So now you don't have to worry about that at all. That's something else you can do. Something else you could do, maybe put this player in a purple, maybe man this person up to the running back because you think a Texas route or an angle route's coming, right? So a lot of the times you'll see something like this. They'll drag here, Texas route here, something like this. This is a pretty common setup. So they have the drag with the C route, and then they have the wheel from the tight end kind of acting like a flat route almost. Then you have the angle route. So if even if they flat routed it or not, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Something like this, that's going to take that away, that angle route. This cross man from right here will take that away, and you don't have to worry about that. And the only thing you have to worry about maybe is like a quick streak to the running back. But by that point, after like the first couple yards, that safety will catch back up. So if they run this play here, look right here quickly, nothing's there, drop back to this post, cross man takes it away. Let's go back into the replays here. So that cross man from that safety, if you're having any trouble stopping that angle route out of man-to-man, that cross man from that safety will do a good job against it. So you see here, the safety almost waits for the cut, waiting, just waits for it to get there. Then it's taken away. And this double post play does a good job against man-to-man, especially if you have high route running. But we're back there on the user, and nothing else is really open. Tight end's taken away. Drag's taken away. C route's taken away, and you have the purple out there to kind of sandwich that, right? So the C route would have gotten open against the man, but then you have the purple to sandwich it. So that's a pretty common setup that you can kind of take away. You don't have to worry about verticals as much anymore, because from verticals, man-to-man's going to stop the wheel route to the outside, and if you're in a zone, the cover 3 will match for it for a second, so you don't have to worry about verticals as much. Quickly here, just want to go over a couple last things. So step back up here. If you want to do this, so if you want to put the vert hook on the left, that'll help take away like any slants or drags going to the left side. So if you say they have a really good route runner, like a slot-o-matic or a route technician on RB, and they're doing this drag, so we're going to go back to the same setup. So if it's looking like this, right? And you're worried about that drag getting open. Now I'm actually just going to coverage this player out. I'm going to put him in the flat because I just want you to see how this vert hook can play it for a second. So this is our user. Let's just man this up to the running back like we did before. And I want to show you here. So this drag is taken away for an extra second. And now I want to show you here in the replays. And we're imagining here that this player's manned up because I just wanted them to quote unquote win the man-to-man so you can see how this vert hook can deter it. So assuming here this is man-to-man and this has someone trailing because they won the man-to-man, right? Say that someone's trailing them like a couple yards behind, like right here. This vert hook, they can't throw it yet. They can't throw it yet. Deter. And then by this point, they can throw it, but the man-to-man's probably caught back up by that point, and it's only going to be a couple yard gain, if any. And that's what that vert hook can do. So that's something else you can do. But if you're not shading, if you're shading up, you really don't have to worry too much about anything that's coming at you. I would probably, if I'm going to take away my purples, take away my D-pass for purples, I would probably take one of them to man to the running back either here or here. Because that way you can kind of use or any of the other man-beating routes like the deep post or anything like that. Something else I'll note is if they table route here, like say you're cross man the running back again, you probably have to lurk a table route. So if they have a setup like this, something like that, you'll have to lurk that table route. That cross man from the safety isn't going to get there in time. So quickly lurk it, only for a couple yards. By that point, the man-to-man will get back there in time and you should be just fine. Something else I want to note is when the running back's on a wheel, sometimes the man-to-man will switch from your players. So if you want to stop that, I usually just touch them a little bit. If you want to just do like that, that'll prevent anything from like that of happening. I just want to note that I went over it a little bit more in the 3-5 coverage adjustments video, because when you're in cover 2 man, sometimes when the running back's on a wheel, they'll just start flipping and switching for each other, and you don't want that because they can end up giving up like yards and you'll get players on other players that you don't want. But one last thing I wanted to see here. So say they're in like this play, PA dig fork. This can beat man-to-man deep for a lot, right? So like this can get you a lot of yards. And this is something that somebody might do. Maybe they'll do this setup, something like this, right? Maybe a hitch or something. But regardless, this that S post can get open deep. You should be looking out for that play. If you see the S post coming, or even a regular post that can beat man, and you don't have any deep blues, you need to watch for that. So as soon as you see this cut, oh, I saw that S post cut. I'm going back. Now, Scotty Miller, who's not a great route runner, isn't too fast. Well, is fast, but not matching with high deep route running. So that's going to prevent that from getting open. But if they have high route running and high speed, that's going to be a touchdown a lot of the time. And they even motion it sometimes. So something they'll do, you'll see, if they're in PA dig fork, they'll do this. They'll motion it out. and they'll motion it back in and hike it like right here. And if you don't have any deep paths out there, they can get open deep. So you saw they're able to catch back up, but that's just because of the route running. So if you don't have any deep paths out there, you need to be looking for that. That's just important when you're in man-to-man, knowing what routes can beat you for a lot of yards. And most of the routes when you're going against bunch, let's step back up here. When you're in bunch, so if you just imagine these are purples, the routes that are going to beat you over the top, for the most part, are going to be from Scotty Miller, the outside bunch guy. That's the most of the time that's going to beat it. The other ones are pretty much just going to be crossing patterns. So if the crossing patterns are going to get taken away by these 25-yard purples, 20-yard purples, if you go into your coach adjustments and change them, that'll do a good job against it. And then fades and stuff over the top, but you're stopping that by shading over top, right? So you don't have to worry about that as much. The only thing you really have to worry about is the S post. Now, something they can do is if they have hot route master or outside apprentice, they can put this skinny post out there. So if they're like something like this, like they have a setup like this, I'm just making this up, or if they like in flood, maybe they put a post out there. The skinny post can sometimes beat you over the top, so you can be looking for that. But that's just something you're doing with your user. So like if you see any of those routes that can hurt you, that's when you just start lurking back deep. Even if you're shaded over top, those routes that can beat you over top, just being aware of them. Now let's go over to zone here. So we're going to actually call timeout and go into the blitzes and show how we can adjust from the blitzes here. But for the most part, I would probably stick with the cover 3 one. If you wanted to go to the cover 2 one, I'll set that in the audible so we can audible to it here. But I'm not a big fan of cover 2 in the game right now, just because you can split the deep half so easily. But we'll go back to the gun bunch. Put a double post. So if we're in the cover 3 and we're not blitzing, right? We're just assuming here we're not blitzing. I'm probably going to do this every time. I'm probably going to man up the slot corner to the to RB. Then I'll probably center this up just to keep it in the center of the field. If you didn't want to, that's fine, because you do have the seams kind of manned up. But I don't want to get split deep, because if they do like something like this, if they're in flood, maybe if they have hot route master, they can put a corner out there. That streak can beat you deep if you don't move over that deep third. So I try to center it up. Something else you could do if you really didn't want to do it, if you really didn't want to show you're in cover 3, you could put this player in the cover 3 and then maybe put LB outside, but that would prevent you from being able to slot, put the slot corner up. Maybe if you want to do this, something like that, and then this player can be just like in a hook curl or in a flat, something like that. So this is how you can adjust out of the cover 3. Again, you can spy this player if they have a fast QB. If they don't, you can put like a hook curl over there, something like this, and then your user on the right side. Anything like this that you want. And again, if you want to disguise the blitz, you can hold this gap. I know I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. But if you want to disguise that blitz, you can hold that gap area. But you don't have to. You can kind of just do it sparingly to just kind of disguise it, but you don't have to do it every single play. But yeah, so if I'm in cover 3, if I'm in this SS Blitz 3, I'm probably going to be playing a lot of just coverage zones, not doing a ton of man-to-man, maybe manning up the running back at times. So maybe I'll do like something like this and try to take away the running back on his wheel. Maybe I'll do this and shade over top. Just try to take away the left side and worry about the right side myself, the tight end, the B route on the post, stuff like that. So if they're in, let's just say they're in double post here. Do an angle route, something like this. This could be a good, if you see this play, they hike the ball. You don't have to really worry about the tight end. You're just watching the post. Now, the safety did get beat on the angle route, but that's because this is on the left side. It's not the cross man safety, but essentially, I mean, you see here, you just know, you have to know your responsibility. So if we're doing 2 mans, I'm not really watching the running back. I'm not really watching the outside C route. You're just going to be watching the post. Flat's kind of taken away here by the flat from the linebacker. Can't really throw the tight end for more than a couple yards. So that's something you can do out of zone. I don't do a ton out of zone, especially against bunch, unless I'm doing the blitz. We can go over to SS Blitz 2 here and quickly show what we might do. If you're going to be in cover 2, I would say worrying about the seam routes is number 1 priority. So if you're like, I would man up RB pretty much every single time. If you're worried about something like this, or if they're like in flood, you can man this player to B like this. Make sure that doesn't beat you deep over the top. Then you can shade up to get cloud flats if you want. But yeah, so I would just make sure you're not giving up anything in the seams. So if they go to flood like this, you're just kind of watching the middle. And again, I mean, we're getting quick shed. So like if you're taking away their first few reads, you're usually doing a pretty good job against it. Now, Tampa Bay doesn't have the best O-line, but yeah, so Anyway, so let's go back to S Blitz 3 here. That's really all I would do out of cover 2. I would not do a ton. I just want to show one last thing here. If you're in the cover 2, one other thing you have to worry about is the thing splitting you deep. So like PA dig fork, that S post can sometimes beat you down the middle. If that's the case, that's why another reason why we'd man that to be. Just kind of sandwich it, cage it between the deep pass. If you have a man-to-man there, even if they beat the man-to-man, quote-unquote, the deep pass can be like support and you can't really throw it. That's something else to look out for. But another last thing here is I've already mentioned the skinny post before. If you see the skinny post, sometimes those can be down the middle. So like say this was their setup, something like this. Or maybe they like fly the running back, something like this. You would probably want to go lurk back as soon as you see that. And let me man these up. As soon as you start to see that skinny post, I would start to look back to it. So I'm kind of looking for something to grab, maybe the drag. As soon as you see that post, you got to get back there. Because you see there, like, I threw that really, really late because I'm using 2 controllers. But you see, like, that could definitely have been a touchdown if they had thrown it on time. And I'll go into the replay. That's why you have to worry about cover 2 so much. And really kind of why I don't like to play it. Because you have to worry about so many routes. But you take away the right ones. I just need to be quicker with my user. So I was a little bit slow. I'm lurking low, right? I don't really need to be lurking this drag because it's kind of taken away. And it makes me late. That post is, if you throw it right there, that's probably, I would say definitely a touchdown. I'm using 2 controllers, so I couldn't throw it on time. But just something you have to be looking out for. So as my user, as soon as I see this, I can't notice it yet. I need to be on that. And that's tough to do, which is why I don't really recommend being in cover 2. I even knew it was coming and I was still late getting to it. So that's just why I recommend it. Staying in the cover 3 if you're going to be in zone. But now we'll get into the blitz here. I actually messed it up, so let me just reset. But yeah, so that's the setup here. Now we're actually going to get into the blitz and how we can adjust from there. So we'll probably spy that player and go here, or we can spy this one and get down. Either one that you want to do, it's completely up to you. But do keep in mind that this flat route is on this side, and so the deep third's coming from here. So you can get beat with a seam streak. If they're in flood, which is a play that they definitely call, that seam streak will be wide open for a good amount of time as this player works their way back. So the way that I would do this is I would put this player in the deep half. I would put this person out in the flat to stop any table routes. So let's just say that this is their setup here. Like they're going double flat, essentially, like double floods. Something like this. That hard flat will stop that. And then you only have to make sure you take away that. So that table route's taken away by the flat. You just take away the right side as quickly as you can. The seam streak should be guarded now that the deep third's on their side. And when they hike the ball, you click that right stick, you just bounce out to the right. Now we got nano detected, which does not happen very often. But essentially, as long as you don't get nano detected like that, they'll be sacked before they can even throw anything. So you see here, and they would have been sacked already probably because the player stopped. But you take away that flat, and as soon as they have time to throw something, they're probably sacked. Like they can't really, like, this table route would get them like a couple yards maybe, because the hard flat's there, and then they can't really throw the seam because the deep third's there. Can't really throw that. Out route would be able to be thrown, but I'm kind of bouncing back here by that point. So that's how you can kind of stop it out of the blitz. That's mostly what I would do if you wanted to blitz out of cover 2. Maybe you want to do this. Double man-to-man on the left side, taking those away. And then you're going to be like just watching the seams or anything like that, anything going deep middle. So say they're in like, if they're in like double post here, if they do something like this, that would actually be a really tough thing to stop because you probably have to give up the drag for a lot of rack because you're going to have to bounce back to this post. But you can try, lurk back, maybe get it, force a mistake. But as soon as they see you bounce back, they might throw that drag. But out of cover 2, that's probably what I would do. Oh, set it back up here. That's probably what I would do. Because that way you can just don't even have to worry about the left side at all. And then the right side, you won't give up any yards if they throw a quick flat. Deep half will prevent them from getting anything deep, like on a corner route if they're able to get a corner route off. So that's what I would do. If you really wanted to prevent any seam streaks or anything like that, you could put a deep third there and make sure you take away the flat. So if they're in flood, something like this, you could still take away that right side. It's going to be the same exact lurk as you did before, like out of the cover 3. And you're able to get a sack. So that's something I would do out of the blitz. Again, there's not a ton of adjustments you can make since you're sending 6. But your ideal thing here that I want to stress, you're taking away their table routes, their tight end flats, their drags, anything that you can take away super quickly before they're sacked. You're assuming they're sending 5 out when you're sending 6. So you just got to take away probably the first 2 reads and they'll be sacked. And that's how you're going to, that's the best way to stop gun bunch when you're blitzing. And I hope these adjustments will be helpful for you. I hope that you'll be able to mix them in. Again, I don't recommend using cover 2, cover 3, and a lot of cover 2 man is what I recommend the most. I hope these adjustments were helpful for you.